We are back. We are back. Eugene and Andrea here.
All right, all right.
Talking about what's Black love got to do with it. And so far, the answer is still everything. Today, we are talking about why considering the context is important.
Please make sure that you visit what's webuildlegacy.com so you can download your copy of What's Black Love Got to Do with It.
Definitely.
And also go to our YouTube page, We Build Legacy, and please subscribe and hit that notification button.
Absolutely. We're talking about context because context is king.
Yes, it is.
I didn't even get to my points, all of my points with the last one, so I might throw some in when we start talking about everything. But I just want you to know, listen, context means something. Why is all this stuff important? Why is it important where all this stuff started? You know, we always talking about, I ain't gonna say we, but we talk about African liberation of Black people all over this planet. I said this in a part coming up, but it is okay because I'm gonna start now saying it. It's okay if the story of Black people begins with Black people on the continent of Africa. And so we need to understand how this context affected us. How did it affect what we think is right, what we think is wrong about our relationships? And so that's what we're talking about today. Why considering the context is important. We'll see you on the other side. Why considering the context is important. As stated earlier, people attempt to hold on to the traditional constructs of marriage gender roles for different reasons. Some non-religious people hold tightly to the predetermined concepts of manhood and womanhood, even though they're based on religious laws and ideals that they do not agree with. English settlers brought these practices to this land hundreds of years ago, and they were largely based on the religious expressions of the monarchy of England, which at the time was considered to be the head of the Church of England. Why do I mention this connection between marriage laws and the monarchy of England in a commentary about Black love? It is to encourage you to allow yourself to rethink or think again about your beliefs about men and women in romantic partnerships. It is also an effort to encourage you to consider whether your beliefs about the roles of men and women are universal truths or the personal truths of individuals who, at the time, had the power to spread their personal beliefs broadly and create laws to uphold them. At that time, the people trusted the kings and queens of England to be their spokespersons for God, much as the Pope is for the Catholic Church today. With each new monarch, there was new doctrine added or subtracted about how their subjects worshiped God and carried on their daily lives. Some might say that it was the epitome of making God in one's own image. Are the convictions about marriage that have been passed down from those monarchs working in your favor? And if people have been making laws that are not universal truths, then why are some so fearful to reevaluate their personal situations and realign themselves with ideals that work towards their highest good? In the US, the laws of the land often hold the same stature as religious texts do for some people. For those who want to minimize slavery, explain inexplicable actions of individuals that have gone unpunished, or why a thing is permissible one day and not permissible the next day, the easiest answer pertains to whether that thing was legal at the time or not. I heard a journalist say that the law is like the national religion of the US, and I agree. One major difference to organized religions, however, is that the laws are constantly changing and redefining our realities. I cannot imagine that any of our African ancestors arrived on this land involuntarily and then voluntarily chose to surrender their names, their cultures, their languages, their family lineage, or rites and ceremonies around birth, death, or marriage. For their descendants, the freedom to embrace what has been lost, stolen, surrendered, and forgotten is a privilege and an opportunity to honor their resilience and sacrifice. Considering these contexts around pre-colonial gender roles and relationships in Africa, and allowing that knowledge to inform how we live our lives today has the ability to free us in our relationships and so many other areas of our lives as well.
I tell you.
You are not going to read the whole,
If you guys saw
That's
us
a
in the
good one.
background
Oh my gosh.
while the reading was taking place in much authority, I mean, Dr. Dula was reading, Andrea was reading that with much conviction. I mean, the whole reading on taking into context was very valuable.
I started off with
Go
just
ahead.
like, what are you holding on to and why? That's the question.
Yeah.
What is it that you hold on to and why? Now, this is once again not an effort to say that what you holding on to is wrong. We all have our family traditions. This is how we do it in my family. In my family, you know, I've people have gotten me because I use my maiden name as my middle name, legally changed it to my middle name. And people are like, oh, that's not how you do it. But I hold on to it because my mama took, changed her name, kept her maiden name and made it her middle. My grandma did it. That's how we do it in our family. At least know why you're doing what you're doing. What are you holding on to and why are you doing it?
That reminds me of the story of the mother who asked the grandmother why she was cutting the chicken in half and then throwing half of it away. She's like, I don't know. Go ask your great grandmother.
Yeah, go
ask. Great grandma, why did you take the chicken and cut it in half and throw it out? She's
like a ham or something.
Right, a hammer or something.
To get in the oven.
Oh, baby, I was taking it out and pushing it to the side because it all wouldn't fit in the oven.
Exactly. And we're doing some things.
Yeah, we're doing it out of practice of what was passed down, and some of the context that these things are based in is not African; it's more Eurocentric, and it's important to realize and understand that our context as Africans do not start here in America. They do not start.
Whether you're talking about the continent or the diaspora, we are African people. Our history does not start with what they have decided to record here.
Now let me read what she didn't want me to read. As the convictions about marriage that have been passed down from those monarchs working in your favor. And if people have been making laws that are not universal truths, then why are some so fearful to reevaluate their personal situations and realign themselves with ideas that work toward their highest good? I think a lot of it is pressure.
I want to say this as he's saying this, because I always forget to say this. If you have comments, we want to read what your thoughts are about this.
Yes.
Put your comments in the bottom. What that question that I had, what are you holding on to and why? I want to know what you're holding on to about relationships, and I want to know why you're holding on to it. I want to hear how your process is going through this. And that is so true. Like, is this working to our highest good? Like, seriously, a thing that might work to my highest good is not going to necessarily work to the next person's highest good. And I'll even say this, babe. Even as I go back and reclaim and hold on to things, I understand that because of how all of our practices and culture and all of that was taken away, there's no way to get some things back. And we have to just mourn it and move on.
Yes.
But in there is a gift. In there is an opportunity. Okay? In there is an opportunity. You know what? When I go I'm in South Africa or I'm talking with other people, there are very distinctive family practices, things that are done very distinct very distinct, that is just as how it's been done for forever, especially, as I always say, around birth.
And if you go back and look into the research to understand that as an African culture, there wasn't a one monolithic idea and approach
and
to
we weren't
marriage.
stagnant.
It wasn't. You had some that had a head of household, or
there you go, jumping to the other part.
I'm sorry, again. But then you had those that were more hybrid. I know I'm getting into it.
You are like all over. Yes.
Some marriages structures that were egalitarian, or I'm going to go ahead and say the word because I love it because it's brought up as co-regents, where the man and the woman rule together. And so to understand that that was a part of your culture and a part of your heritage, you should be all right to work with your wife in unison in order to press forward the vision or the idea that you want to have, and allow that legacy to be built for your next generation. Because the way you're trying to do it, because of what Mama and Etienne did, is not working effectively for
right now.
Your particular relationship, your particular ideas, and your particular personality structure and what you're trying to establish. So don't be afraid of the peer pressure or what other family or organizations or ideas. Be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Let's fall away from that cognitive dissonance and run to a cognitive justice related to finding out what's important to us.
That's at the beginning. Go back and listen to those videos. That's at the beginning, talking about going from cognitive dissonance and that thinking one way but your actions being another, to cognitive justice and being able to have more than just that one way of looking at things.
You know that situation that you guys are going through doesn't fit your particular idea of thoughts and wavelengths.
That's right.
And energy within life. Stop trying to put this square peg into a circle hole. I know I'm telling it all, but I just feel eager because I know that there are young Black folks. There are couples out there. There are individuals that are trying to excel in life, trying to excel in their relationships. We talk about kinSHIPS, partnerships, all type of relationships, courtships, the leadership, apprenticeship,
all of the ships.
We gotta look at the context from which we're deriving our foundation on. And if it doesn't work and it doesn't fit, don't argue with anybody. Do your research, read, and then begin to celebrate yourself. And I know you're gonna get me. Be self-determined.
You know what? I'm not dealing with
Be self-determined to name yourself and create for yourself.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself. Find that to be okay with you.
And that's been tough throughout our marriage.
It has.
When I decided, to do a special thing, or he decided, often we were the only cheerleaders that we had. We didn't have the evidence of what we do now. A 25-year-old, at the time of this recording, 25, 23, 18, and 16. To have my sons that they actually will call us. They know where, look, this is, Spirit said, call you and ask you about this. I want to get your wisdom on something, to call to know that they can get assistance, to know they can get help.
Teach.
But the way that we got there was doing things a little bit different than the way it was done for us. And we were always like, man, y'all up here tripping. We didn't get to express ourselves like this at all, and we trying to be different with y'all, and y'all still ungrateful, and y'all still not figuring. But we kept working at what our ideals were. We had a thing, and it was, if our sons are going to learn how to stand up and assert for themselves in this white supremacist society,
teach.
They're going to learn how to speak for themselves here at home first. And we're going to teach them how to, without the anger, without the this. We're going to teach them how to state their case when it is appropriate, when they need to learn how to yield to authorities, because we were still these authorities over them. How do you approach someone in a hierarchical setting? We did all those things, and it paid off.
Yes.
So the context is important.
Teach.
And we're going to get ready to go. But what stood out to me too was when the part where it was talking about, they added and subtracted stuff the way they wanted. Don't get it twisted. People always talk about don't add or subtract from the word of God. Listen, do your research. Just read. They've been adding and subtracting since it was first written. Just stop saying things that you heard somebody say. Stop doing stuff just because you heard somebody. I'm encouraging you. Use this resource. And if you and guess what? Come back to this video and say, you know what? You weren't right about that. I looked it up and you weren't right. Listen, I will humbly say, you know what? If you are right and if you found something that contradicts what I researched, I am not too hard to say so, but stop just taking what people say. Whose truth is this? This thing that you can't question. Whose is it? Who first said it was the universal truth?
Talk.
And when they needed to change it, did they change it? Huh? Stop playing with me.
We want to encourage you guys, please, if you got questions, you got comments on what you've heard and it's been insightful for you.
I got one more thing to say. My favorite example, my all-time favorite example. I'm sorry.
No,
my all-time favorite example is common law marriage. Even in the other previous part of the text, it was like, if I stand and say, they said, and before, what is it, 1552, I think it was, in England, we married. Come on here. You marry me, I marry you.
That was it.
That was
your marital
that was it.
Contract.
That was it. And don't get me, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait to that part of the book. But don't get me started. There are still people on the continent, even our traditional wedding we had in South Africa. Mama Maureen was like, what kind of wedding you want?
Traditional?
You just want to say you got married here? They brought people from the community. They asked, are you being forced to marry? It's a whole nother thing that we will get to in another part. But I'm just saying, listen, all of these laws change. And so now we make a big deal about whether someone, are you married to him or so-and-so? Common law marriage, do you know there's still states that observe common law marriages. They have never gone to the courthouse. They have never stood before a God and man. They've never stood in the church house, and their marriages are still considered legitimate. And I talk about my big mama, my father's mom. He remembers. He said all of us were born. And one day, my great grandmother, she's like, y'all really need to go ahead and do it according to, go ahead and because Granny was staying with them. You say y'all just need to go ahead because the laws are changing. And Papa was much older than Big Mama was. And he's like, I don't want anything to happen and you're not considered married in a legal stand, because she had all these children for him, 7 or 8 of them, whatever. And now you can die and they will say you have, that was a legitimate relationship.
Come on, people. Come on.
So I'm just saying.
Laws changing, books changing, and they still do that today in 2020.
And I asked my daddy, I said, Daddy, so what was different? He said, I remember they went to some little country place, Utah, but I don't know where they went. Some Utah, Alabama. I don't know. I'm probably getting that wrong. Union Spring, something around there. He said they came and they put the marriage license on the wall. He pointed to where it was on the wall. And I said, Daddy, was it different after, they got married than before? He said, no, it was nothing different. He said, it was just now by the law standards, you're married. He said, but that didn't change anything in our home because we already had a family structure in our home. This was Daddy. This was Mama. This was our family. And there we go again with the legitimizing of our unions.
The law. Why are we continually following and assimilating instead of considering
Now, that doesn't mean we don't value marriage. We've been married for 26 years.
That's right.
This is not about, you have to keep saying it because people will pick one little clip.
You're right.
And say, they said, I don't have to get married. I'm not telling you what to do at all. Teach. You're grown. You're grown.
What we are doing is challenging you in how
to think and rethink.
That's right.
Yeah.
Come on, say it. So please comment below. We'd love to get back with you. And don't forget to get your copy of What's Black Love Got to Do With It at WeBuildLegacy.com. It is a free download, free resource for you to go through with you, yourself, your loved ones, and to just, I hope you guys get something great out of this particular teaching. So we hope to see you really, really soon.
See you next time on the next one.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.